Hey there, Rational Theist here, episode 10. Today is my little guy Brecken's birthday. It's not Friday, so we're not going to do the Family Friday deal, but wanted to have a conversation around what it's been like to parent that little guy and my oldest Maddox for the last 12 years and share a few of my thoughts and hopefully begin a discussion where you guys can give me yours and we can create an overall discussion of what it looks like to be good parents in today's crazy age. I remember when, I was just becoming a dad, and I wrote it down in my journals, and I think I had it on a few pieces of artwork in Maddox's room where it was Proverbs 22, and start children off in the way that they should go, and when they are old, they will follow and not turn from it. And I don't know if I believe that anymore. I don't know that I want my boys to look exactly like me when I grow up, because God's got a unique path for them. And the older that I get, I believe that more and more. That obviously there are the disciplines and the fruits of the Spirit that I want them to strive for and to learn to embody and to understand the Spirit's voice. And if that's what the verse is talking about, terrific. But one of the things that I found as I look around at my peers in the world around me is that isn't usually the case. That a lot of the older generations expect their children to be similar. And I am probably in camp number one. I've recently been having some conversations with my family. I referenced it in a couple other episodes, and I think my parents are really wrestling with what in the world did we do to have a son that's like that? And the last thing I want for my parents is to feel shame or be embarrassed by me, because I love them dearly and I want my boys to love me dearly. But at the same point, I want my sons to voraciously attack life and to passionately and courageously take risk and step out into the world and make an imprint on it in a way that honors God and leaves an imprint for God. And so for me, where I guess my compass now lands when it comes to, okay, how am I parenting my boys? What do I want? What is the most important that I want? Is ultimately something around the idea of what Jesus was saying to the disciples in John 13, where by this, the world will know that they are my disciples because they love one another. And that's what I want more than anything else. And I want my boys to learn how to love. I want them to first and foremost learn how to love themselves, which with Brecken, that's not the easiest thing right now. He fights a lot of inner demons. He's really hard on himself, similar to me. Even as I'm sitting here looking at this camera, this isn't easy for me. The introverted side of me, this is something I'm pushing myself to do, to try to be courageous and get my voice out there, more or less just to see if I can find community and see if what I've learned makes an impact. But more, it's about just trying to learn and hear from other people out there in the world. And that's the same thing I want for Brecken, is to continue to search and try to find his identity, give him all the opportunities that I can, whether that be through playing in sports, getting in speech therapy, because that's what he needs at the time, even doing counseling at school, and then having a lot of crucial conversations on the side. I mean, the amount of times that I hear my wife sitting down and talking to him about deep things or processing his thoughts with him, it brings me a lot of joy. And Maddox, we don't have to deal with that quite as much. He's more the rambunctious, ready to go tackle the world, and makes it really easy to come alongside him and celebrate and support him. And we're not having to spur him on quite as much. But when it boils down to, I guess, the overall parenting conversation, I I have set some boundaries for myself and also set some timelines for myself as to, okay, at what stages of my boy's life do I need to fill them in on different aspects of society, different aspects of the world, and I'm pretty liberal with a lot of those things. But specifically when it came to faith, that was an early on conversation. I got to baptize Maddox down in the jungle with me a few years ago, two to be exact. And then, Brecken was more timid. The language barrier was harder for him. But then we had a father-son outing where we had the birds and the bees conversation, and I broke it up into different pieces. We had hard conversations and interesting conversations and exploratory conversations that have now allowed us to have many, many different conversations that I love. And I'm stepping into those same things with Brecken now. And then now the most recent conversation is, well, Maddox goes to church. Brecken does not want to go to church. So what's that mean for me? I'm not going to make my son go to church, but I am going to present to him scripture and present to him what faith looks like from my standpoint, helping him dive into scripture, helping him utilize the Bible app and explore for himself Bible stories and have conversations about it. And to me, that's great. Like, we have a vibrant community around us that he's able to love on and to fine tune himself and to practice different things that he's learning and ultimately share love with the people around him. And I don't think he necessarily needs church, but a lot of people have an opinion on that right now. And that's something that as a father, I'm continually trying to wrestle with and explore, and something that I'm going to continue to lean into in the months and years to come. With Maddox having just completed his first year of middle school, that was a very interesting experience to see the things he was able to grasp and contemplate, and then also to see how he thrived and was adored by a lot of people with his kind-hearted nature and willingness to be a little dorky, and in the midst of even doing track for the first time and trying new things. And so this is just a great adventure. And so for me, when I consider, okay, what does parenting really look like? It really just looks like, at least in this time for me, coming alongside of him and Brecken and clearly articulating my love for them, my belief in them, and dreaming alongside of them and helping them find their voice, so that it's not my voice that is being channeled through them, but it is indeed their voice being explored, so that I can then come and add color and flair and enable them to be the boys and soon to be men that God's created them to be. I want them to understand their identity. I want them to understand their giftings. And ultimately, I want them to fall in love with Jesus like I have, and be able to hear the voice of the Spirit. And wherever God takes them, if it's in God's will, I'm going to be running right there alongside of them. I think that, at least in this season, that includes Maddox running down to the jungle with me. He loves and adores everybody down there, just like I do, and they love him. And Brecken, that's not his cup of tea right now, and that is totally fine. So he's not coming along with me. But there's things like that that I just, as time goes on, there's less and less black and white in what I believe good parenting looks like. And it's more contemplation and consideration and prayer. And obviously, yeah, let's draw some hard boundaries around, let's not do drugs too soon. But can we go watch a rated R movie if there's nothing but language? Can I let Maddox watch Welcome to Wrexham with me because the storylines are awesome and he can understand what fostering and building a community in a rundown town in England or Wales looks like? Sure, cool by me. Can I let him watch The Challenge with me on TV with most of the profanity bleeped out? Yeah, that's all right with me. And you guys can come at me if you want, but being able to expose him in a way that we can do it together is something that I've really enjoyed, and love to hear your guys' thoughts as to what you think good parenting looks like, and what kind of adventures you're having together with your kids and what kind of struggles. And if you want help or if you want to facilitate or have a conversation, I would love to have it with you. So for my movie review for today, I am going to do the movie Ezra. I went and saw it the other day, and it is a beautiful depiction of this parenting where we have a story of a autistic child and two parents that are in the process of a divorce, each trying to individually give everything they have to parent him well. And I don't know that there's even one specific thing that I can point out, probably without giving a spoiler, but the writers of the movie did such a good job at showing how different personalities interact with different types of people. And so the dad is a comedian or a struggling comedian and or stand-up comic, and the wife is an established person who's kind of dating an attorney, and they each kind of handle parenting Ezra differently. And I just love kind of the ebbs and flows and the back and forth and watching the dichotomy between, okay, what is the most important thing? How does Ezra get the best experience in this struggling time in his life? And you just get to watch it. It's a beautiful narrative of just the struggles that parents go through. And ultimately it lands, I think, on the concept of parents needing grace, that if you give up yourself, if you give the most that you can and truly land on love and do it with the right motives coming out of love, that there's always going to be grace there, even amongst the legal system, because they get in some trouble throughout the movie based on how one of the parents decides to handle certain situations. But grace and love can truly reign, and I think wisdom can be gained, and through our filters as Christians, for those of us that lean on the Spirit for wisdom and guidance, I think that plays a part throughout the movie. You can see kind of the guiding light at the end of the day that is driving each of them, and would definitely encourage watching it. It's probably not one to watch with the kids because it's difficult, but it really caused me as a parent and as a dad to put myself in those shoes. And okay, what would Jason do in the midst of a situation like this? And I'm so grateful that my boys are as healthy and thriving as they are, and not struggling with the same things that Ezra was dealing with in the movie. But that doesn't make Ezra any less of an individual, any less loved by God. It just changes the dynamic where, you know, the things that Ezra is able to see are things that Brecken probably doesn't see in this world. And that's beautiful in and of itself. So if you want a good date night with the parents and want to have some good conversations after, I would strongly recommend going and seeing Ezra. So that's all I got for now. Please leave your reviews and comments. And if you want to walk together with me, would love to hear from you. Blessings.